Stars in Perspective. As we work through the packet, we have the set of instructions that are always up here in the left-hand corner. So if you ever forget how to do something, they walk you through this up here. Okay? And the steps are pretty much always the same. Connect the corners of the stars to the vanishing point. Draw the sides of the stars parallel to the shape of the star. Erase the rest of the lines to the vanishing point. On this page, we also have shaded area shows how thick to make stars. Shade in all thicknesses that you add. So I'm going to start up here at the top and just kind of work my way down through all of these stars. The first step, connect the corners of the stars to the vanishing point. Now remember, I need to make sure that my ruler lines from here to my vanishing point. So I'm just going to keep going until I get all of these points drawn here. Okay, so just keep in mind that when you're connecting corners of the stars, or any shape, that if you end up having something that looks like this, where it goes over your shape, this would actually be a line that would be behind the star, so you do not need that in there. These don't go behind the star or on top of the star, nor does this, up until it gets to here. But for that though, it does not. So you know that this still needs to be drawn in, along with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and shade those in because those are pretty much done. They're too narrow to really add in anyway. Now, the next step, draw the sides of the stars parallel to the shape of the star. So, parallel means that they don't touch. So what you're going to be doing is drawing in these sides. So I'm going to start here first. So I'm going to line up my ruler. I'm going to bring it out. And I'm going to keep most of my stars about the same width, about here-ish. It'll make things a little bit easier. Now remember, every time you hit one of your orthogonal lines, you will be changing directions, because you have a different side to make parallel. So I did this one, and I'm on to this one. But I have to go to where I stopped. So, as you can see, this is where I stopped last. So, I want to make sure that I don't move my ruler too much. And see? And it starts right here, where this one ended. Now I need to make this side line up with this one over here. And then this one here line up with this one here. So now I have my star pretty much done, except I have some extra lines that I can be getting rid of. Not all of them though. Don't want to erase everything. Okay, so now I have my star. When I shade, to try to show the difference between them, I'm going to press hard in some areas but lightly in others so that I can get different values. next one I'm going to do is this middle one over here. So I'm going to go ahead and line up all the corners of the star over here. Some of them go over, so you don't really have to worry about them so much. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and start at one side. I'm just going to probably go ahead and make it this width. Now I'm going to go from this side, make it parallel. Then I'm going to look at this one. That's pretty wide. Erase this extra line. Erase this extra line here. Okay. Now I have this side of the star done, but I don't have this one done. So I'm going to go ahead and line it up and make it parallel. I'm going to go ahead and shade. And don't worry, if you have to rotate your page to shade or something, just go ahead and do it. Now I also want to point out this side and this side. Okay, so this corner ends up being completely on this side. There isn't something like this where it ends up dividing the corner in half, because then if it was, you'd see these two sides. But because it's completely on this side, and this one, like, you don't see this side of this star, but you'll see this one. I'll go off. Of this page, or this corner here, it'll come off and you'll just see this side. You won't see this side, you won't see this side, and you won't see these three sides. Okay, so now that I have this one and this one, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So again, I want to take all of my corners to the star, or from the star to the vanishing point. So now I have all of my corners of my stars drawn to the vanishing point. Now remember, when you go to do this, like, don't just put your ruler here and like try to aim, like don't try to take this over here to this star, or because you seem like it can get pretty confusing if you don't pay attention. So I'm going to go ahead and draw another star here. I'm going to draw another star here. Okay. So I have these two sides done. Now I need to add to this side, make it parallel. I can erase these lines because they're extra lines. I don't need them. Then I'm going to go ahead and make these parallel. And then I'm going to make this parallel. And I will end up shading them. And so that you can see the difference between the sides, I'm going to make sure that I lightly shade one and make sure that they are obviously different in values. Okay, the next star I'm going to do is back towards the top. I'm going to, again, take all of the points of the star all to my vanishing point. Now remember, they're all going to the same vanishing point. The ones that would go across the top, you don't need to have, because those would actually be the ones that would be behind the star. So you can kind of see all of these would be behind it. Okay, so now I need to go through and add the parallel sides to all of them. And because there's none on this side, or this edge would run over here. Now I'm going to make these parallel. I ended here, so I'm going to have to take this one. I'm going to have to bring it up here where I ended it. And then over here, I'm going to make this side parallel. Now I can erase the extra parts of my orthogonal lines. I'll go back through and I'll shade them in a little bit. I'm just going to go through and add in all of my orthogonal lines to my vanishing point. Make sure that all of your points are going to the same one, because there's only one vanishing point on this page. And you can double check if they are. Okay, I'm going to make sure that all my sides have their parallel side done. Line up my ruler to each of these sides. And again, there's nothing on this side because this line ends up coming up on this side of it. So then this one will just have this side, and it'll appear like it's going over to that edge. You won't have to worry about that side because you don't actually see that one. Now I have all the stars done. All the points or corners of the stars are going to my vanishing point. So now I can add in the value to the width of the stars. And again, I'm going to make sure that the values are different enough on each side so that you can tell that there are two different sides that are drawn in. I can also, if I want, when I add value, I can use blending stumps, and I can kind of move around the graphite that's on the page. I can get rid of some of my pencil marks so it looks more like a solid shading instead of a pencil. But you don't necessarily have to do that. Just whatever you do, make sure that you are being fairly neat.